Hey, what's up? Biz out here. I want to throw a review at you guys for a movie that, to the best of my knowledge, up until just recently, very, very recently, has been a film that was universally and unequivocally shat upon. And shat upon in a very, very big way, to the point where, even though this is a pretty high-profile movie with a big-name horror director, part of a high-profile or a formerly high-profile series of films, because of not just the fact that it got bad reviews, but got incredibly bad reviews, I really had no interest in seeing the film at all. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to hate a movie from a director that I love, that's part of a series that I have a lot of love and respect for. The movie that I'm talking about is George Romero's Survival of the Dead, and I'm going to say it, I enjoyed this movie. I found it very, very entertaining. Yes, I did. Hate me if you will. If I'm the lone person standing on the hill waving the flag for Survival of the Dead, then so be it. Before I start this review, I need to make 3 disclaimers. Number 1, there will be spoilers in this review, so journey forth at your own risk. Number 2, I had expectations for this film, not low expectations, not low expectations, but expectations in the depths, the very bowels of expectations for a movie. To the point where I thought, well, if this movie's in focus, I'll give it, I'll give it some points. And disclaimer number 3: does Survival of the Dead belong anywhere near the Romero Dead canon, especially the big 3, Night, Dawn, and Day? Should it be in the same ballpark as those films? No, by no means. We're talking not the same ballpark, not even the same game. We're talking chess versus checkers here. Anyway, so there you go. The first major complaint that I always heard in reviews for this movie was the CGI effects. There are 2 incredibly dubious CGI effects that I'll discuss here. The first being a sequence where a gun is held to a zombie's head, and from about here to about here, after the trigger is pulled, just sort of evaporates, and the top of the zombie's head, the scalp, falls down onto like the jaw of the zombie. It hangs in midair for a moment and then it just falls down on it. Okay. The next one involves a zombie that a fire extinguisher hose is pushed in the zombie's mouth. It's turned on full blast. Fire extinguisher, foam, whatever, shoots at the zombie's ears, its nose, eventually out its eyes. Its eyeballs pop out, still attached by the stalks, as if it's like supposed to have been some sort of 3D effect. I don't know. And then the zombie falls over dead. I can't imagine Romero being in a screening for that movie after the film was fully assembled, ready to be shipped out, sitting there watching those effects going, I like that. I like that. I can't imagine that. I don't know what those effects were intended to do. This movie was released after Zombieland. Zombieland had some over-the-top effects and stuff in it. Zombieland is an intentional, funny movie. You're going to walk into this movie with different expectations from Zombieland. So I don't know. I mean, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. Maybe they're trying to do something Zombielandish. I don't know. The next thing that popped in, the next thing that people have talked about with this movie is the acting, how bad the acting is. While nobody in this movie gives what I'd even consider a great or a good performance, really a decent performance, the acting is really, it's underplayed. There are sequences with actors that it's so underplayed. At one point, but then from, you know, it goes from 0 to 60, from being semi-comatose to Nicolas Cage overacting. Maybe not that far. Not that far into overacting, but from semi-comatose to overacting in like the drop of a hat. None of the acting's great. The screenplay actually, I mean, there's the typical Romero social message in there. The movie has a social conscience. Sometimes that message is a little vague. Other times it seems like it's really being forced down your throat. I appreciated that there was a social message. I sound drunk. No, I did not watch the movie while drunk. I was stone sober, I promise. It was a shoestring movie. Clearly they didn't have a big budget. The story unfolds, the plot unfolds like just about every Romero zombie movie. You have basically the human element becomes more dangerous than the zombie element. You have a moment of sort of tranquility where people are sort of trying to ignore or work with the problem, I should say. You know, worlds collide. You know, the humans are at each other's throats. The zombies besiege both of them. You've got people killing people. You've got zombies then killing people. And you know, the final few survivors, you know, journey off into the unknown. The story of the film basically takes place on an island off the coast of Delaware that's inhabited by two rivaling Irish families, kind of like a Hatfield versus the McCoys kind of thing here. Yeah, off the coast of Delaware, island inhabited by Irish people. Seems to be a huge island, but there's only about 50 people there tops. Half of them are zombies. Anyway, the Hatfields' thinking is the only good zombie is a dead zombie. The McCoys are saying, look, we've got to live with this problem. We've got to somehow domesticate the zombies. We've got to teach them to eat something other than us. One of the leaders of the families, the Hatfields will say, gets exiled to the mainland by the McCoys. It's then we're introduced to this rogue military unit that are just out there on the road trying to survive, going from town to town, pillaging for supplies and stuff. This little rogue outfit was actually in Diary of the Dead, the previous Dead entry, for a couple of minutes. They explain all that early on. We're introduced to each member of this unit, and so this absolutely cracked me up. We're introduced to a character named Tomboy, who's part of the military unit. She's a lesbian. And what is she doing in the middle, right in front of everybody, is sitting in the passenger seat of a military Jeep, and everybody's just sort of not really, you know, paying attention, just sort of like, oh, that's just Tomboy over there. She's masturbating quite verbally into this masturbation session, just out, you know. It's like, oh, there's Tomboy going out again. Hey, you got to smoke, man. You absolutely cracked me up. From there on, I mean, that just sort of set the table. I mean, this movie is really not to be taken seriously. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to, you know, people who hated this movie walked into it or rented it or whatever expecting a serious, hardcore Romero zombie movie. I'm going to learn something. There's going to be a social message. There's going to be great, you know, it's just going to be, you know, your typical Romero movie that I can maybe hold up to the big three. That's not it. That's not it. We've not had that in the last two. I mean, Diary of the Dead, Land of the Dead. You know, you can't hold those up to the big three, the Night, Dawn, and Day. You just can't. Land of the Dead was Romero with studio backing, and the studio saying, social message, well, you got a social message in this thing. People who are going to come watch this movie are stupid. They have a short attention span. Why are you doing that? It's got to be 90 minutes. It's got, yeah, we'll put some gore in it, but not too much gore. This has to play in the sticks. We don't want to offend anybody. So it was Romero with studio backing. decent budget, but studio backing, studio interference, so it's not going to be full-blown Romero. Diary of the Dead was low budge, more indie. We thought this was going to be, you know, the real Romero Dead movie. Honestly, I don't remember a thing really about that movie other than being disappointed with it. And Survival is kind of the same thing, only, I mean, it depends on how you walk into it. I mean, I walked into it with very low expectations. I found it to be entertaining. It's not a good movie. It is an entertaining movie, I felt, if you walk into it in the right frame of mind. There is some decent practical gore effects. Some of the zombie attacks, people being torn apart, of course, limb from limb, the usual Romero zombie stuff, you know, guts being eaten, those kind of zombie shenanigans. And actually, after I watched it, I was like, you know, what is wrong with me? I enjoyed this movie. I found it thoroughly entertaining, and kind of on more, you know, I don't want to say I liked it on a bad movie level, like Troll 2 or Psycho Cop or something, because it's not. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. I think if this movie had aired like on the Sci-Fi Channel and was directed by John Smith, you know, released by the Asylum or something, I don't know, people probably see the fun in it. They'd probably say, oh, you know, this isn't bad. This is kind of, you know, fun and entertaining and silly in a way. But again, it's a Romero zombie movie. We're not looking for, you know, most people aren't looking for that out of a Romero zombie movie. However, we haven't had a real Romero zombie movie since Day of the Dead 1986, in my opinion. I don't consider Land, Diary, and Survival to be even part of the Romero zombie canon. I just don't. They are, but I'm not going to put them together with those three movies. You know, he gave us three great, amazing, totally influential, landmark zombie movies over the course of 30 years, you know, and the last three just haven't been up to par, which, I mean, granted, he set the bar really high for himself after those three movies. Excuse me. Actually, yeah, I got online on the IMDb and I looked at some external reviews for the film, and I actually found some decent reviews. Now, a few were from some of the more high-profile horror websites who will, you know, if they're, you know, webmaster or editor or whatever, if you put him in the movie, he's going to give it a thumbs up. You know, that site's going to give it its endorsement, you know, irregardless. There's other high-profile horror sites who will give a horrible movie thumbs up, just so they can get their, you know, their name on the cover art, you know, as if that's any kind of advertisement or endorsement for your site. You know, we love crappy movies. Come check us out. So those sites I excluded, and I looked at some other sites, even, you know, some reviews like FilmCritic.com and some other places. Even Roger Ebert gave the movie 2 stars out of 4. That's more than, I think he only gave Day of the Dead maybe 1 star. So there were some good reviews for the movie out there. I was surprised, and not necessarily, I mean, glowing good reviews, but I mean, people saying it's not that bad, it's okay, it's decent. So the phone's ringing. It's probably George Romero Collins. He's probably heard that I've given the film a positive review, I'm sure. But I'm going to let it go to voicemail because, you know, George can wait a few minutes as I wrap this video up for you guys, because I love you guys. Anyway, yeah, Survival of the Dead, hate me if you will. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Is it a great film? No, by no stretch of the